I wanted to jump in really quickly on the whole Crystal, Fabulous 50s, and Lauren thing that's going on. And if you're unfamiliar with this, Fabulous 50s, her name is Crystal in real life, is a mother of children who children told her that they wanted to go no contact with her because they considered her to be quite toxic. And she's been posting for a while about her healing journey and how she's working on healing herself so that hopefully as her healing herself, she can get a relationship back with her children. And I've reposted a couple of her videos in the past, and generally I have really liked what she's been doing because I wish so much that my mom would do the work that she is doing. And Lauren, who responded to one of her posts this past weekend, was talking about how she considers Crystal to be like her internet mom, and like finally like someone is talking about that angle of it and taking responsibility and accountability, and it has seemed like it has been really healthy. But I too was really triggered by a video that Crystal posted over the weekend. I didn't post a video directly at it, but the video that I posted recently about how you're not obligated to forgive your abuser was my response to it. In Crystal's video, she talks about how going no contact as an adult with your parent is not productive, essentially, is what she's getting at. She even goes on to say that you cannot be a victim as an adult, which of course you can. Your narcissistic parents can absolutely still victimize you as when you become an adult child. Just literally watch my channel and you can understand how that can happen. And I'm one of just probably hundreds of thousands of people who go through this. In her video, she starts saying how, well, if I went no contact with my mom, then I'd have to go no contact with this person, no contact with that person. And all of a sudden my world gets really small and I've had to go no contact with all these people. And as it turns out, I need to heal my own trauma. Yes, everyone needs to heal their own trauma. But if someone is abusive and toxic to you in your life, you are not obligated in any way to maintain contact with them. You don't have to forgive them. You don't have to hold grudges. Just because you don't forgive them does not mean that you're holding a grudge against them. But you absolutely get to say, no, I actually want to have a peaceful life now. And if that means initially your circle gets really small, then I guess your circle gets really small because you've probably learned from your narcissistic parental unit upbringing that people that are toxic are people that you should have in your life. So once you start becoming really aware of, oh, these are really terrible behaviors and I shouldn't allow them, certainly you might look around and say, wow, I've made some really poor choices in my friend group, or I've made some really poor choices in my intimate partner relationships. And because of that, yeah, you might have to make some tough decisions. Crystal tried to clarify that this morning on a video where she was saying, I was just trying to give people an alternative to no contact and that low contact is an option. Again, if you watch my videos, I talk about this. I've heard many other people talk about low contact as well. And sometimes low contact is easier when you're in a family relationship. I was low contact with my mom for a long time. And the thing is about narcissistic people is that if you're low contact with them, you give them an inch, they will take a mile. And she plowed right through my boundaries numerous times, where eventually I was like, no contact. And even though I know that my mom was abused as a child, my mom has had a really traumatic life herself. I know that she too is a victim. That does not mean that I have to martyr myself. We are all grown adults at this point, including my mother, and she needs to own up to her own accountability. She needs to do her own level of healing if we're ever going to be able to have a relationship again. So even though I understand why she did what she did because of her own trauma that she's dealing with, that doesn't mean that I need to be contact with her in any way, low contact or otherwise. And it also doesn't mean that I need to forgive her either. We might be able to have a relationship again in the future, but that doesn't mean that there has to be forgiveness. What I'm not saying when I say that is I'm forever going to hold a grudge against my mother. I'm not saying that. And I don't walk around with like anger in my heart at my mother. I don't. I love my mother deeply, and I hope massively that she will get the help that she needs. But I have provided that forgiveness many times and have been walked all over when I've given that forgiveness. And so I choose to not give that forgiveness anymore, but that doesn't mean I'm holding a grudge. It doesn't mean I'm holding anger. And it doesn't mean that I just like hate her in my heart. I hate her behaviors. I hate the things that she has done. I hope that she finds healing. I hope that she can turn it around, but I'm certainly going to be no contact until that happens. And I love the videos that Lauren was posting because she was posting the receipts really of a direct message conversation back and forth between her and Crystal, Fabulous 50s. Not only was Crystal's video really triggering, but reading that, those direct messages were also really triggering as well. There's a lot of gaslighting that's in those messages, a lot of victim blaming that's in those messages. There's a lot of degrading and devaluing that's happening in those messages. They're incredibly triggering. And look, I'm not saying that anybody's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. While I do generally still appreciate Crystal and Fabulous 50s and the content she puts out there, because it's so nice to see a grown adult parent that's trying to take responsibility and accountability and trying to heal themselves so that they can make their relationships better. This one missed the mark for me too.